Today I'll be guiding you through a presentation on the evolution of the human skull and exploring the species that are thought to be connected to our fascinating history. Here you can see a selection of the species we'll be discussing. While this is focused on the human skull, we will additionally touch on human-like features in general. Let's get started. This chart presents a timeline of the known genera related to the human evolution tree. It's measured in millions of years ago, which illustrates the extensive time it takes for evolution to impact a species. At the bottom, we have Sahelanthropus tchadensis, which we'll explore in more detail shortly. Above that, you can see several species that gradually develop increasingly human-specific traits over time. And there are a few. I also have listed a couple of the genesis we will be discussing. Here we have Sahelanthropus tchadensis. It's often regarded as a crucial distant ancestor of Homo sapiens because it marks a significant point in the evolution of ape species, showing early signs of traits that are more human-like. Believed to have lived in western to central Africa, the closest yet still distant relative outside the human lineage is pan-troglodytes, chimpanzees. Understanding this relationship helps us compare and grasp the evolutionary changes exhibited by Sahelanthropus tchadensis. Now, pan-troglodytes and Sahelanthropus tchadensis share several similarities, including a small brain size, which is even slightly smaller than that of the common-day chimpanzee. Both species have a sloped face and a very pronounced brow ridge that extends much further than in Homo sapiens. Additionally, Sahelanthropus' skull is elongated, which is common with chimpanzees. They display a couple, Sahelanthropus tchadensis displays a couple very important human-like characteristics. They have smaller canines, and the foramen magnum is placed further forward, indicating that they are biped. On the next slide, we see Ornithogenesis, which lived around 6 million years ago and is one of the earliest members of our family tree. This species is roughly the size of a chimpanzee and has small teeth with thick enamel resembling modern humans. The key fossil of this species is an upper femur, which displays signs of bone development typical of bipeds. This suggests that while Ornithogenesis individuals climb trees, they likely also walked upright on two legs. Based on Orn's low, rounded molars and small canine teeth, paleontologists suggest that their diet mainly consisted of plant-based foods like leaves, fruits, seeds, nuts, insects of the sort. Next, we see Ardipithecus. On this slide, we will be discussing Ardipithecus, focused primarily on the species Hormidius and Cadava. The inclusion of these species in the hominin lineage is quite controversial within the scientific community, mainly because they all exhibit physical traits associated with upright walking, which is very human-like. Fossil evidence for both species indicates that the way their lower bones connect and the orientation of their hip bones suggests very different muscle function compared to hominins. But some research also argued that bones are way too damaged to definitively rule out a place for Ardipithecus in our lineage. While examining skull similarities and differences, there is much to consider. Several cranial fragments of dental evidence from Ardipithecus supports the idea they may have been a hominin. The smaller, more human-like upper canines, regardless of gender, implies minimal social aggression, suggesting that males don't need to compete or didn't need to compete for mates, and may have played a more significant role in raising offspring, an important factor in human evolution. Additionally, the skull shares similarities to another genus in our family tree, or Australopithecus. Now we turn to Australopithecus. This genus includes several species that lived approximately 4.4 to 1.4 million years ago. We will be discussing 3 of them. Notably, the differences in the skulls reveal significant steps towards human-like traits. We'll be starting with Australopithecus africanus. We see that it has a rounder cranium, which houses a larger brain, and smaller teeth, while still displaying some ape-like features such as very long arms and a strongly sloped face that protrudes from the brain case, accompanied by a very pronounced jaw. Their diet varied as well. It's actually believed that they consume some of the species from which they evolved, but despite their carnivorous habits, Australopithecus africanus likely had a diet of a modern chimpanzee, which includes like nuts, fruits, plants, seeds. You can see this from their dental remains. Next, we see Australopithecus garhi. There aren't really many fossils to go off of with garhi. There have been roughly 5 skull fragments found. Through these, paleontologists have recognized the human-like molars, brain case, and teeth. And researchers have concluded that Australopithecus garhi has a place in our human lineage. And next, we move on to Australopithecus sediba. Australopithecus sediba exhibits several derived traits such as relatively small premolars, molars, along with facial features that resemble those of the genus Homo. Nevertheless, despite these changes in the skull, other parts of Australopithecus sediba, they still display several ape-like features, like the upper limbs being longer and a smaller brain cavity. Next, we are on the Homo genus. Here we'll see the most substantial evolutionary changes, starting with Rodolphinus. Thought to have been around 1.9 to 1.8 million years ago, we are reaching a point where species have more human-like features that outweigh the ape-like features. Skulls for Rodolphinus, they have a larger cranial capacity and large wide molars. The brow line isn't as strong, and the bones are dimorphic, which means that the bones differ slightly when it comes to gender. So males have a more prominent forehead and females have a softer jawline. Next, we are going to discuss Homo erectus. We are reaching one of the final species in our evolutionary path, considered to be from 1.89 million years ago to only 111,000 years ago. This creature is more human than ape, having a more sculpted face and the height span of an average everyday human, This species is also known for innovation with stone tools and creating fire. They are believed to have been omnivorous, and it's believed that they have a short digestive tract leading to the suggestion that they needed energy quickly. Their pelvis shows a very strong indications of bipedal locomotion and the discontinued trait of tree climbing. Next, we have us, Homo sapiens. There's fossils dating back 315,000 years ago, but most commonly I saw references to fossils of 100,000 years ago. But this is us. Through this long journey, we have finally reached us, Homo sapiens. We are considered to be the hairless, bipedal, highly intelligent result of millions of years of evolution, and we are now the only surviving human species. There is not a single known creature to continue our family lineage. So you might be asking, what's next? Only time will tell. Thank you.